In the Philippines, the drug problem has taken away lives. It's torn apart families and communities, and it's hindered normal business operations in rural areas when they have to live in fear and when they have to mourn the loss of their friends and families on a daily basis because of the way the drug trade inherently operates. It cannot be, however, denied that economic growth goes hand in hand with a disciplined society, and we think that we should look to our Asian superpowers like Japan, Malaysia, and Singapore with a strict implementation of laws and to the extent of imposing the capital punishment as a way of deterring these types of crimes. This debate, however, is less about the morality of the punishment, but rather invites us to put ourselves in the shoes of small, micro, medium enterprises found mostly in rural areas of the Philippines, where the drug problem hits the hardest. Think about the perceptions of the working class and owners of homegrown businesses and what it feels like for them to constantly live in fear. This perception, however, is something that could be fixed with a death penalty. What does the death penalty look like in the Philippines? Note how, upon the second reading of the bill, from a possible punishment of 21 crimes to only drug-related crimes, it has been with the intention of curbing the drug problem and nothing more as of this time. Two lenses to which we want to look at this debate. The first is through the lens of micro, small, and medium enterprises. This is an important stakeholder in this debate because they take up at least 4.8 million of the jobs in the Philippines in a country of over 102 million, with about 99.6% of all registered businesses, MSMEs, which are more visible in rural and urban areas. Let's go on. We tell you that this is the interest of these businesses primarily because their interest can be measured by how they perceive our president and the proposals that he puts forward. For example, like the death penalty. Note how 60% of the population in the country trusts Duterte and whatever he's doing. So he has an approval rating, in fact, of 76%. We tell you that there's no other way for us to better measure the interest of small businesses than to measure how he fares with the people who are the working class and the people who in fact own these types of businesses. We think that 16 million people voted for him, and I think it is a legitimate interest that they want the death penalty to be something to help curb this type of problem. What do we think there, however? We think that with 4 million over drug addicts in the Philippines, we hear stories of how drugs have ruined the lives of families when a father spends more on drugs than spends on the food of his family. We tell you that the same way, small businesses are directly affected when they have drug-related violence in their streets. We take a look at private property being damaged. We take a look at lives and human capital being wasted. We take a look at people being scared for their own lives and refusing to go to work and refusing to live normal daily operations. We tell you that to the poor, the death penalty is especially scary because everyone believes that the poor have less capability to defend themselves. That means that, following logic, if drugs are something that most of the poor people do, not to generalize, but we think that therefore, because the death penalty, once imposed, will become an effective deterrent to try to prevent them from accessing these drugs or opting into the whole drug chain. This means that you reduce the drug use, you reduce drug-related violence in rural areas where MSMEs are mostly found. 3 reasons why this is important. 1, we tell you that it improves human capital. When 1, you're not hooked on drugs, but you are a better functioning member of society. When secondly, you are not afraid to go to work and you don't have to live in constant fear. But note how the stricter implementation of these laws and the stricter implementation of a death penalty means that we improve community trust. When you improve that trust between the society and the state, when you reduce the hold of the gang lords and the kingpins because you penalize them through death penalty. Without this perception is important because that's the only way that you get cooperation from the people and from the state, and that's something that we clearly state we see in the mandate that Duterte holds over its people. The second thing we want to talk very quickly is why we think it's better for the greater economy. Take a look at the situation of ASEAN powerhouses like Malaysia, Singapore, and Japan. Their ability to balance imposing strict laws to keep peace with the ability to punish through the capital punishment is something that's increased the stability within their countries. We tell you that it has been beneficial to their markets. When you take a look at it, it has been a value for most economic investors to see stability, peace, and order as something important to these countries. Note how this isn't a debate about how death penalty may or may not be effective, but rather about how people perceive death penalty as an effective tool in maintaining peace and order in their neighborhoods and in their lives. Thank you.